welcome. First of all, welcome. This is Unsolicited Perspectives. I'm your host, Bruce Anthony, here to lead the conversation in important events and topics that are shaping today's society. Join the conversation and follow us wherever you get your audio podcasts. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to watch our video podcast. Rate, review, like, comment, share. Share with your friends, share with your family. Hell, even share with your enemies. On today's episode, I'm going to be talking about privilege, Caitlin Clark, and a dumbass police officer. But that's enough of the intro. Let's get to the show. People with advantages are loath to believe that they just happen to be people with advantages. They come readily to define themselves as inherently worthy of what they possess. They come to believe themselves naturally elite, and in fact, to imagine their possessions and their privileges as natural extensions of their own elite selves. See Wright Mills. What does this mean? This quote emphasizes the idea that those with privilege often fail to recognize it is as such, viewing their advantages as inherent or earned, rather than as a product of societal structures. This can lead to the belief that their voices are more deserving of being heard in every conversation. It's a powerful reminder to check one's privilege and make space for diverse voices. Now, why do I bring this up? Well, the first two segments, and perhaps maybe even the third segment is just an interesting story that I came across this past weekend. I saw something that was an interesting quote, and I'm paraphrasing it. And it said that the privilege, you know that you're privileged because you think that your voice should be involved in every conversation. Basically meaning people don't know how to stay in their damn lanes. And I had to learn this, right? Because if you listen to the show, if you watch the show, you know that I'm a very opinionated person. I mean, I couldn't have this show and not have a strong opinion. It's very tough to carry on an hour-long show by yourself if you don't have strong opinions and strong convictions in your opinions and be able to voice them, articulate them the best way that you can. You know, I'm a speech impediment, but that is what it is. Articulate them the best way that you can. But I've learned over the course of my almost 44 years now that there are conversations that I should just shut the hell up, right? Like I don't need to involve myself in a certain conversations because my voice is out of place in that conversation. Here's a case in point. When me and my sister talk about feminism, I shut the hell up, right? Because this is a woman talking about feminism. Now, if she asks me my opinion about different things, of course, but I don't try to start or lead that conversation thinking that I am somewhat of an expert on that topic. I'm not, right? I don't ever think when talking about women that I'm an expert on anything. Unless it's, picking up women. I'm pretty good at that. And I mean, as far as dating is concerned, I can give a couple pointers on that. But I'm talking about the female experience. All right. No, that's a conversation I should shut the hell up in. When Jewish people are talking about what is anti-Semitic, I shut the hell up and I listen. Because I'd be damned if anybody that's not Black tells me what is racist, right? Or what I deem to be racist. And I'm really getting tired of this reverse racism. I may or may not get into that, but that's a huge thing that some white people are saying now is this reverse racism. But people need to stay the hell out of certain conversations. And I'll expand upon this more in the second segment when I'm talking about Caitlin Clark. But I think it goes along with so many different things. People love to talk about politics and don't have an idea most of the time of how the government runs. Like if you ask somebody what are the three branches of government, they might not be able to articulate what they are. You might not know the difference between the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. Judicial maybe, right? Like the courts. That's pretty self-explanatory. But you ask them what the executive, the legislative is, they might not be able to tell you which is which and who is who and what those powers and responsibilities actually are. But yet they have damn sure an opinion about everything. I'm not a woman. I'm not somebody that can give birth. I will not have an opinion about what somebody should do if they get pregnant. That's whatever I believe should not be pressed upon other people as if I have any type of influence on their life. And those same people that love to have the type of influence hide it under the guise of protect the children when nobody's out here really. That's a lie. There are people out here really trying to protect the children, but it's an easy scapegoat, right? Like we want to protect the children. We want to protect the teachers. Teachers should be paid more, which they should, but you also want to restrict them of their responsibility. Me, as somebody who went to school to be an educator, I really get insulted when you have these parents, and yes, parents should have a say so in what their children learn and don't learn to a certain extent, right? When it's talking about the history of this country, you don't get a right. You don't get a right to restrict your children of the truth. Now, you could say maybe at a certain age, they'll be better equipped at handling some of these complex things. But the whole idea that CRT was being taught in school, we had a bunch of people who, one, couldn't define what CRT was. That's the first thing. And then we have them influencing curriculum when half of them can't solve simple math equations, right? Like, can you add and subtract, multiply and divide fractions? If you can't do those things, shut the hell up, because you're not qualified to teach the children. I went to school for it. It's an entire program before you get to go be a teacher, right? It's classwork. It is learning from teachers. It is following teachers. It is teachers following you. It is being in a classroom for an entire year before you're in a classroom alone. And even then you have guidance. There is so much structure in becoming a teacher. It's not an easy thing. It really isn't. You got 25, 30, 35, sometimes even 40 kids, all learn differently, right? Some people are audio learners. They learn through listening. Some people are visual learners. That's what I am, right? I'm a visual learner. You show me how to do something, I got it immediately. That's the reason why I was so good in math. Because you could show me an equation and I could figure it out just like that. But, parents aren't equipped to teach a history because half of them don't know the true American history. So how are you going to teach something that you don't understand? How are you going to have a voice in something that you don't understand, and it's going to speak on it as if you know what's best, not just for your kid, but for all? And this is the point I'm trying to make. That's the height of privilege, is to think that your voice is so important that it should influence others. Now, I say all this as a man that has a podcast, but what do I always say? I steal it from Dad and Levitard. I'm not telling you what to think. I'm asking you what you'd like to think. This is Unsolicited Perspectives. Most importantly, I'm giving you diverse perspectives. It's a window into the soul of America that you might not be privy to just because of your surroundings or who you hang out with or, where you live. You might not have the ability to have diverse interaction with people because you don't live in a diverse area. That's what I try to present on the show, is just diverse voices, and that hopefully that you can learn something. I know I do, but you got to have an open mind. And I don't always believe that I should have a say in every conversation. Now, I will ask questions because I'm curious and I want to learn, which is what I think people should do. But far too often, people are trying to dictate to others what they feel like their lives should be when they don't want it dictated to them what their life should be. The same people that are saying that they are being canceled all the time are the same people that are trying to cancel. The more privilege that you have, the more opportunity you have. The more opportunity you have, the more responsibility you have. Listen to that again. The more privilege you have, the more opportunity you have. The more opportunity you have, the more responsibility you have. Noam Chomsky, So, as somebody who does have privilege, I have several privileges that I will acknowledge. I'll acknowledge them firsthand. First and foremost, I have male privilege. Okay. There are a lot of times when women are far more smarter than me, and I've gotten promoted in certain jobs and because I'm a male, because they feel like I'm more equipped as a male handling people. And that's not necessarily the case when I know for a fact other women have been more qualified for certain positions that I've gotten. But I got it because I'm a male. And I know the first thing people are going to say, well, it's because you're black. No, everybody was black. So that wasn't what it is. Everybody was on the same racial playing field. I got it because I was a man. Male privilege is also not realizing how dangerous it is an everyday walk of life for women. I told the story. I will repeat it again. I had a very, very close friend, a female friend at college. Went to the University of Maryland. I lived on the south side of campus. She lived on the north side of campus. The University of Maryland is not extremely large, but it's large enough to walk from north side to south side is going to take you about a half an hour. Well, 20 minutes, right? We were supposed to meet at the library, which is in the middle of the campus, in relation to the north and south campuses, for a project that we had to work on. It was nighttime. And I said, hey, I'll just meet you up at the library. She says, Bruce, I need you to come up here and pick me up. I said, that is ridiculous. Why am I going to walk 10 to 15 minutes past where I'm going to come get you when you can just meet me there? Just meet me here. She said, Bruce, I'm going to ask you again, will you come and pick me up? Yes. Okay. Yeah, you've asked me twice. I'm going to come pick you up. I walk all the way. I pick her up. We're walking back. And I'm talking to her and I'm like, I don't understand why, mind you, I'm an 18, 19-year-old kid. And I say to her, I don't understand why you needed me to walk all this way to come and pick you up. And she says to me, just look around. And I'm like, okay. She's like, it's dark out here. It's like, yeah, so it's nighttime. That's how nighttime works. So I could be snatched up and attacked at any moment. I was like, nobody's out here. This is campus is safe. Nobody's out here getting attacked as snatched. She said, okay. She said, all right, I want you to work. She worked the crisis line for the University of Maryland. And she said, I want you to come and work a couple of nights, come and volunteer a couple of nights working the crisis line. I said, okay, fine. Mind you, I worked for the school newspaper. So anytime there was any type of attack and the school newspaper would get a report maybe once or twice a semester of an attack or an attempted attack on campus. That's, to my knowledge, that was the amount of attacks that were happening on campus. That's the reason why I said it was relatively safe, aside from traumatic instances, but few in what I thought they were. So I'm working a crisis line, and I slowly but surely find out that there are so many women that are being attacked, and the attack levels are vary, right? It's a spectrum, but nevertheless, it's situations in which women are extremely uncomfortable to absolutely violated. My heart broke because I have a sister, I have mom, I have aunts that are like my big sisters, right? I have very, very important women in my family that I genuinely care for. And to hear that this was happening at a rate of which was not being reported, because most of the time women didn't report it for various reasons, uh, being ashamed, guilt, uh, fearful, fear of judgment. Like there's a variety of reasons, but you hear the pain in their voice as they're just being, and I'm trying to just counsel them through it, which is most of the time just listening, right? And I remember my friend after the second night, I said, I can't do this anymore. And she's like, I understand it's a very tough job. She was like, do you understand why I wanted you to pick me up? And I said, yeah, I do understand why. It's not something that I ever thought about. And she was like, it's because you're a man. And I was like, whoa, I guess I never thought about it like that. She's like, you will always thinking at the very least that you can protect yourself because you just be protecting yourself from another man or men. And you, with your bravado, think that you can take on the world. So you never feel like you're any real threat unless you're in some real threat. I was like, yeah. And she was like, in your case, because of your machismo, because I had a lot of machismo. She was like, people basically had to pull a gun on you before you actually like are fearful. I was like, yeah, you're right. She's like, I'm fearful just going to the dining hall late at night to go get food. It's because, in the wintertime, it gets darker quicker. It's like, and that's in a public area. Like, it's always fearful. It's fearful turning down a guy for a dance at a party or a drink at a bar. You never know how men are going to react with rejection or things like that. And I'm like, yeah, I, I just never thought about that. That's male privilege. So the idea, as I will lead into the second segment here, the idea that people don't acknowledge their privilege is not amazing to me. It's understandable. I've talked about it before. People want to say to themselves, I made it here on my own with my own grit and determination. And they don't want to recognize that sometimes systems and structures, societal structures, give you a leg up. And it could be man, they could be white, it could be Christian, right? These are different privileges that people have specifically in this country that gives them access to certain things that they may overlook. And it's important to recognize the fact that you have these privileges and recognize the fact that just because you have these privileges, that doesn't mean that you have a right to have a voice in every conversation. Those who have privilege to know have the duty to act. Albert Einstein. What does that mean? When you have privilege and you're seeing somebody that doesn't have privilege and you're seeing an injustice, and once again, you have that privilege, it is your duty, it is your responsibility to act, to help those that don't have the privileges that you have. So when my sister brings up feminism, when we talk to people in the LGBTQ plus community, I am not in either one of those communities. Well, I try to be a feminist, but I'm not a woman. Okay. I'm not in the LGBTQ plus community, but I consider myself, or at least I attempt to be, an ally. And I have a privilege being a straight male that a lot of people in the LGBTQ plus community do not have. It is incumbent upon me to use my voice to speak up when there is injustices done upon the people that don't have my privilege. And this is coming from a Black man. This is coming from a Black man. That those that don't even have my privilege, it is a duty for me to act and be an ally for them. That's the reason why those people will always have, I say those people who don't have the privileges that I have, that don't have the access to things that I have. That's the reason why they will always have a voice in the show. I will always stop and listen because I don't believe that my privilege gives me the right to put my voice in every conversation. Sometimes I just need to shut the hell up. And that's going to lead me to my second segment when I talk about Caitlin Clark. There's a lot of people that need to shut the hell up. And I'm going to get into that next. Caitlin Clark. Just saying the name, I'm going to get views and likes and dislikes because her name is an engagement word, right? That's something to drive traffic because she's a hot button issue. And this is my slang coming out. I job like, meaning like I kind of, and not kind of, I do feel extremely sorry for her. She just wants to play basketball. I'm a fan of Caitlin Clark. I want her to do well. So everything that I'm going to preface this entire segment by saying, I am a fan and I want her to do well. Also somebody who will be a straight shooter and keep things real. The ghetto made me crazy, but it also made me real. To quote my man, Young Bleed. But I want her to be successful. And the amount of pressure that she has on her from society, not just to play basketball, to be a figure in everybody's mind is too much. So from the white community, not every white person, but she's the great white hope. She is I've talked about it before. She is a white person that plays in a predominantly black sport. And she was very, very good, fantastic, world record setting in college, right? So it's very rare. She's an anomaly, and anomalies are attractive to whatever they represent. And she represents somebody white that was dominant on a college level in a black dominated sport. So she's going to gain fans regardless because uh, she's also middle America, right? And she's not overworldly, breathtakingly gorgeous. I'm not calling her ugly by any means, but she's not like Cameron Brink, who looks like a Barbie, right? She looks like somebody. Uh, she she looks like an average person, right? She's an average person with exceptional skill. And that's charming to a lot of people who can kind of see a little bit of themselves in her. It's very difficult to, even for me as a black man, as a tall and big, giant black man, as far as, comparing myself to every average day man, um, it is not easy for me to look at a Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant when they're only a couple inches taller than me and picture myself being them. Like I can't. They're otherworldly, athletically gifted, and I can't see myself in that. A lot of people see themselves in Steph Curry, right? Because he's miniature compared to the basketball court. Steph Curry is actually close to my height, 6'4", I believe. But he has a skill that one cannot be mimicked. He's the greatest shooter of all time, but everybody can kind of learn how to be a good shooter, right? You can't learn how to jump out the gym. Like athletically gifted people, like it's very tough to mimic. We don't look at track stars and say, "Oh, we can do that." We marvel at them. We People look at Caitlin Clark and they say, "Well, she doesn't look like she's that fast. She doesn't look like she's that athletic. She's not that gorgeous. She looks like an every person." And that's appealing. And especially helps that she's white. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with white people looking to her and being proud. It's the same way black people were looking at Tiger Woods and being proud. Like he was dominating a sport that black people typically hadn't played. And the Williams sisters, there's nothing wrong with looking at somebody who looks like you and being proud of them. The problem then becomes when you try to make excuses for why they don't achieve certain things, and you try to make it as if it's some reverse racism. And I know what you're thinking, Bruce, where are you leading to with all this? Because some people that listen to and watch the show might not be like sports fans. And we're not going to truly talk about sports. I'm going to tackle it a little bit, but we're going to talk about more of the societal issues because that's what interests me. So the Olympic team, the women's Olympic team was announced last weekend, right? And Caitlin Clark's name was not on the 12 players that were selected for the Olympic team. And this sparked all types of controversy, even for some news organizations to say that she was snubbed, as opposed to being not making the team, which is what happened, right? She didn't make the team. She was not snubbed. It is a selection process, but she wasn't snubbed because she was never going to be a part of the selection process because there are steps that you need to take or be a part of to be a part of the women's national team. And the argument, a lot of argument has been, well, she deserved to be on the national team because she's Caitlin Clark. But I want to focus on the history of the national team before I get into what all the fuss was about Caitlin Clark not being on the national team. So this team, the women's Olympic national team, the women's national team, right, has won 9 out of 11 Olympic tournaments it has entered. The 9 and 2 in the Olympics. Olympics happen Every 4 years, ladies and gentlemen, 9-2 in the Olympics. They have also won 9 of the last 12 World Cups, including the last 4, and 11 titles overall. The team is currently ranked first in the FIBA World Rankings. That's the international rankings for all the national teams. They ranked number 1. In 2016, it was named the U.S. Basketball Team of the Year for a record 6th time. The team is one of the most dominant in Olympic sports with a 70-3 record in Olympic play and a record 7 consecutive titles. Listen to what I said just now. They've won 2nd consecutive gold medals in the Olympics. The last 28 years, they won gold. It is the most dominant Olympic team the U.S. produces, period. There is no close second. They are the one when you talk about U.S. Olympic dynasty. They're the one. Okay? There's nothing that comes close. Not the men's basketball, not swimming, not track and field, not gymnastics. There is nothing that comes close to women's Olympic basketball. They're just straight dominant, okay? They've had no Olympic losses since 1992. Now, I want some of y'all to really think about that. Some of y'all are actually listening to this right now, and y'all weren't even born before 1992. You were born after 1992. They've been dominant your entire life. Because I got some college students that listen to this show. These college students that listen to the show, some of them were born after the 2000s, right? We're talking about a decade for some of you guys before you were born. That's how dominant this national team has been, okay? In the 2024 Paris Olympics, the team is a mix of young players and veterans. 7 of the players that are on the team returned from the 2020 team that won gold in Tokyo. So there's 12 roster spots, and 7 of the players that was on that 12-man team in 2020 are coming back to this 2024 team, which means there's only 5 roster spots available that can be filled. Okay, this is just math. Diana Taurasi, at age 42, is going to be playing her 6th Olympic Games, a feat that has only been accomplished by 211 people in the history of the world. Listen to what I just said. And Diana Taurasi is arguably this generation's greatest WNBA player. Like, she's in that conversation with Cheryl Swoops, Cynthia Cooper, Tamika Catchings. Like, there's a list, but Diana Taurasi is on that list, and I know everybody's going to bring out the name that I forgot, but she actually is the best. So we're just going to leave that alone. The team also included WNBA stars and gold medalists like Aja Wilson, who is a 2-time MVP of the WNBA, and Breonna Stewart, who was last season's, I believe, MVP. So what was all the fuss about? The fuss has been about Caitlin Clark not being on the team. And some of the arguments that have been made for Caitlin Clark not being on the team have been a little idiotic. Okay, because just like in the first segment, just because you have privilege doesn't mean you can talk in every conversation. There's a lot of people that are new to women's basketball. I'm one of them. And I know that everybody's like, well, Bruce, you're a hypocrite. Aren't you doing the same thing that other people are doing? Yes and no. I've actually done a little bit of research before I started talking, and I've actually been following it. And I'm actually a basketball person. I used to coached high school for a while in my youth. It's pretty good. I've been coached by legendary coaches. I've worked with legendary coaches. I know a little bit about basketball. Okay, so I know a little bit about a little bit. I don't know much about the WNBA. I will be honest. I finally started watching the WNBA sparsely over the last couple of years. And this year, I don't know that there's been an uptick in my viewing, but I would say by and large, that goes across the board with me in all sports. Just as I've gotten older, I've become less interested with sports and more interested in other things. So I don't think I've watched one NBA Finals game and there's been 4 of them. There's one tonight. I might not even watch that one. This might be the game clincher one. So what is all the fuss about with Caitlin Clark? I think a lot of it has to do with race. So, like I said, a lot of people entering this conversation that don't know what they're talking about. There's a lot of new eyeballs to the WNBA, specifically because of Caitlin Clark, which is good for the WNBA if it translates into not just people watching her being her fans, but if her fans spill off and become fans of the WNBA, which can only happen if she is playing well and talented, and because the more she's playing, the more talented, the deeper she's playing in the playoffs and maybe winning championships, the more visible the entire league will be because there'll be more primetime games because it's Caitlin Clark. So she is definitely bringing eyeballs to the league, and it's some people who are just curious. Some people, like I said, because she's white, they look at her as the great white hope, and I don't know if there's necessarily anything wrong with white people looking at her and being amazed at the anomaly of a white person that's at least dominated college basketball, which is still predominantly black. Nowhere near as predominantly black as the WNBA. WNBA is black. With college basketball, I think the University of Iowa, the team she played on, had like 2 black players. So, there's a little bit more diversity in the college game than there is in the WNBA. And the WNBA is just, it's pretty much majority, not all, but like 98% or close to it, like black. So for her to come into the league, the way she dominated college basketball, they would think that trend would translate immediately into the WNBA. It's not yet. It has not yet. And it may not. She may not dominate the WNBA like she did college basketball. She may never get to that level, but she could be a very, very good player for a long time. The problem is with all these new eyeballs, with not just white people, but also men. This is another demographic of people with privilege that are new to the game, but that have such a strong opinion and want to voice their strong opinion on what's going on now. So with all these new eyeballs, everybody's an expert on what the game is when they've never been watching it. And they feel like that she should be on the team, because one, popularity, right? Like she's going to bring more eyeballs to these Olympics if she's on the team. There's only a problem with that is, say that they put her on the team undeservingly, but because she is so popular, she's not going to play that much, right? So all her fans are going to do is get agitated that she isn't playing that much, unless they just blow out teams all the time, then she's going to get garbage time. And her fans still wouldn't be, happy with that. And oh, by the way, let's point out why she isn't quite good enough to be on this Olympic team. What are her stats this year for a rookie season? She's averaging 16.8 points. That stat alone, if you're just looking at points, she's averaging almost 17 points a game, and you say, that's pretty doggone good. She's having a good season. And you say, well, she's averaging 5 rebounds a game. That's a lot. She's doing really well. And she's averaging 6 assists a game. Hey, once again, you're looking at the stats and you say, I don't understand why she isn't on the team, right? These stats are pretty good. They're not top 24, top 30 stats, but they're pretty good stats. She's averaging 1.5 steals a game. Here's where stats can lie to you, because she's averaging 17 points a game, but she's averaging 17 points a game on 37% shooting. It's not good. You're not going to shoot most of the time 50% on jump shots, but that percentage should be about 8%, 8 points higher. It should be closer to 45, 46% from the field. That's efficient scoring. Right now, she isn't very efficient scoring. I think that will change as she's been playing more and more games. She's been getting better and better and better. But as of right now, she's not very efficient. She's only shooting 33% from the 3-point line. Now, your 3-point percentage is always going to be lower than your field goal percentage, because threes are a further distance than twos, right? But 33%, making 1 for every 3, that's not good. That number should be around 40%. Just saying, at the high 30s should be the lowest percentage. So once again, she's not very efficient. She's 89% from the free throw line. She's knocking down the free throws. That's good. As far as her rankings among the rookies, like they have the stats, the PRE, it's the player efficiency rating. She's not rated very highly among the rookies, among the people that she was drafted with. She's not rated very highly on these these stats that measure how effective you are as a player. These stats have been getting better as she's been getting more playing time, but like the quote unquote broadcasting rival Angel Reese is like second among rookies and rebounds, blocks, and steals and PPR, player efficiency rating. Like she rates higher. So technically, Angel Reese is having a better season than Caitlin Clark is right now. And there are going to be some Caitlin Clark fans that are going to say, no, she's not. What are you talking about? She didn't score a lot of points. There is more to basketball. Let me explain this. There's more to basketball than just putting the ball in the basket. You have to be able to defend, rebound, get your teammates involved. That's what an efficient basketball player is. If it was just about scoring, then people like Dr. J would be rated higher on the list of greatest players than they actually are. It's more than scoring. It's about everything that you're doing. And even in that scoring, not being efficient. Now, I'm not doing this to run her down. Once again, I am a fan of Caitlin Clark. I want her to do well. But whatever happened to being on a team based off of merit, right? Because these same people who are talking about she deserves to be on the team because she's popular and she's going to bring more eyeballs to the sport are the same people that attack affirmative action, right? And attack quotas, which quotas was never a thing. Affirmative action is not quotas, right? But they say that it is, saying that minorities were getting jobs over better qualified white people just because of this rule. And then that wasn't fair. But yet it's fair for Caitlin Clark to be on a team that she's not qualified to be on for several reasons, right? She has not taken part of any of the USA basketball like camps or anything like that. She hasn't been in the system at all. So that's number one, right? But even if she had done all of that, just from a statistical standpoint and player rankings, like she's not good enough to be on the team. And the idea that we would just put her on the team because she's popular and going to bring more eyeballs. And I've seen sports talk hosts, men, sports talk hosts who never really paid attention to the WNBA until now, right? Saying this thing, she's going to bring more eyeballs. She's going to bring more eyeballs. And I'm like, yeah, but whatever happened to merit? She doesn't deserve to be on the team. She's not good enough to be on the team. That's the reason why she's not on the team. I thought this was America and that you had to earn what it is that you get. Is that still not a thing anymore? Do we just give stuff away? I know a lot of people, and this is a thing that I really feel bad about Caitlin. I really feel for Caitlin. There's a certain segment of the population, conservative right-wing people, who are saying that this was reverse racism, that she wasn't on the team because she's white. There are white players that are on this team. Just to point that out, there are more than a few white players that are on this team, and they're actually like all-stars and champions and MVPs, and they have the merit to be on the team because they're good basketball players. So this idea that she was held off the team because she's white, I get annoyed. I get annoyed when a certain segment of the white population in this country talk about how things are being taken away from them and that they deserve it because things are being taken away and given to other people. But at the same time, when things are based on merit, say, well, we didn't get it because of reverse racism. That's what the whole lawsuit to end affirmative action was. It said it was reverse racism. And they won because the majority of people in this country are still white, still privileged. And they don't think that they're privileged. They don't realize it. It is ingrained in their DNA. They're entitled. You remember the song, "This Land Is Your Land, This Land Is My Land"? You know, I mean, we are taught as Americans from the beginning, this is all ours. But history says History has taught us in this country, it's all white people. And so when white people are taught this, and I'm speaking I am speaking genuinely, but generally, not all white people. I feel like I shouldn't have to keep expressing that, but there are going to be people that they're going to take offense to that. And those people that take offense after I said, I'm not speaking about all white people, I'm speaking about a certain segment. If you're offended, it's directed at you. You're telling on yourself, right? There's a certain segment of the population that this is what they've been told, that this country is theirs, that everything is theirs. And history, and in the history books, it's been proven it is theirs. They don't want to share. They think it's theirs. So when it's not given to them, it's reverse racism. And by the way, this is not Caitlin. Caitlin isn't saying that. She was like, hey, I didn't expect to be put on the team. It's something to look forward to in the future. And I'm looking forward to that challenge. It is society creating these narratives for this young girl who is young woman. This young woman who is straight out of college. She just graduated. She's 22 years old. I mean, she's a woman, but I can say it because I'm almost 44. She's a kid. She's a kid. And she just wants to play basketball. She doesn't want right-wing conservatives taking up some cause that isn't real and using her as some type of martyr that they can rally around. Sometimes, most of the time, people just need to shut the hell up. You're not supposed to be in every conversation. You should take a step back, look around, say, hey, I don't really know anything about basketball. You didn't become an expert in the last 6-8 weeks. That's not how that works, okay? Shut the hell up. I had a friend, I'm going on this note, I had a friend. When Colin Kaepernick took knee and he was blackballed, I'm going to explain to you why he was how he was blackballed. The person said, well, I'm not watching the NFL because he took a knee. He's disrespecting the soldiers. Well, that's not what he did, okay? Contrary to what a lot of people try to say, him taking a knee was specifically, he was told, hey, this is a good way to protest but without, offending the military. He talked to somebody that was in the military. He was like, hey, I don't really like this protest you're doing, but if you want to make sure that you don't disrespect the military, just take a knee. But because people didn't want to hear what he was protesting because they don't want to be confronted by the things that make them uncomfortable, they made it as, well, he's disrespecting the military, which black people out here disrespect the military. Police will disrespect the police, not the military. We've been a part of the military. We have fought in almost every American war. We have spilled blood and lost lives. I have family members in the military. We're not disrespecting the military. We're disrespecting the country that disrespects us, right? We're bringing attention to the disrespect that certain institutions of this country have against us. But this person that I know didn't want to hear about it, said, I'm not going to watch football. He's disrespecting the military and they should kick him out. Well, when he was blackballed because no other team would pick him up, because they didn't want the distraction, right? This person came back to watching the NFL. I said, oh, you're back to watching the NFL? Yeah, I'm back. Like, you're not offended at the fact that he's been blackballed for his beliefs? Well, he wasn't blackballed. He wasn't that good. That's the reason why he's not in the league. That was another narrative that people that don't understand football at all of a sudden became experts, said that he wasn't good enough. I said, the man that the year before he started kneeling was a starting quarterback in the Super Bowl and almost won the Super Bowl. And oh, by the way, he wasn't just some quarterback that happened to be in the Super Bowl. He was a Pro Bowler. That quarterback all of a sudden isn't good enough anymore. But Brett Favre, the thief who was stealing money from the welfare services in the state of Mississippi to build a volleyball court for the Southern Miss, played multiple seasons after the age of 40, basically on his name. He was good enough to find a job? You're telling me 64 quarterback jobs, 32 team league, first string, second string. Hell, let's even add a third string, right? But let's keep the numbers simple. 64 spots. You're telling me he's not one of the 64 best quarterbacks in the league? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's not that good. I was like, okay, I'm not going to continue on this conversation with you because you're ignorant. You don't know what you're talking about. And instead of just saying you don't like his politics and you're happy that he's not in the league, you're making up falsehood excuses as a reason why he's not in the league. You're speaking on something that you shouldn't be speaking on. Yes, this was a white woman. Yes, her privilege made her think that she had a right in that conversation. She did not, because she didn't know what she was talking about. And this goes back to the original quote. Privilege is something people get, they have, feel like they're entitled to it. It's ingrained in their DNA. But sometimes, most times, people, listen to me clearly. You don't have to have you don't have to have a voice in every conversation. Sometimes, quite simply, you can shut the hell up. All right, we're going to end the show on something light. I'm tired of lecturing. I know I get on here and I get preachy. I'm trying to get better at that, but some of y'all, well, more than a few of y'all actually like the fact that I do that. I'm trying to be better with my tone. I will get there. But this last segment is lighter. And I just came across the story and found it very interesting. The title of this segment is going to be basically a dumbass cop. And I know I did the interview last week with Matt Solomon, and you guys should go check out that interview. He talks a lot about policing and some of the strategies that are used in policing that perpetuates societal disenfranchisement and injustices. He's very well versed. Did a documentary or did a film, Reimagining Safety. Go check it out. But I know it seems like I've been dumping on cops. My best friend's father is a retired cop. I respect the fact that they do a job that's very, very dangerous, right? But sometimes your job isn't dangerous and you just do dumb shit. And this is a prime example of that. Sean Herman, some of y'all may have heard this story. Sean Herman is a former officer now with the Metro Nashville Police Department. He was involved in a controversy related to an OnlyFans video. What was that OnlyFans video? Well, I'll get to that in a minute, but he was arrested. Let's keep on with Sean. Sean was arrested on 2 counts of felony official misconduct for participating in an OnlyFans skit. The video was filmed while he was on duty and in uniform. Individual, he allegedly groped. It wasn't allegedly. I saw the video. He groped. He groped the exposed breast of a female driver during a mock traffic stop. The video was filmed on April 26th in a warehouse parking lot in the Madison area while Herman was on duty as a patrol officer. He was fired from Metro Nashville Police Department on May 9th. One day after detectives discovered the video and identified him as the man in it, Herman, 33, was employed by the department for 3 years. He was released from jail after posting a bond. So, in the skit, a woman they mock a pullover, right? Cop gets pulled over. A cop pulls over somebody. It's a woman. And the woman's like, hey, what can I do to get out of this ticket? And he was like, you can't do anything. She pulls down her top. She was like, you can have anything if you just let me out of this. And he grabs her breast. In the shot, you can see his face. You can see the, and I watched this video completely for resource material. I assure you that it was solely to watch the video and confirm that what I was seeing was what it was, and to be able to convey this to you with the truth, because I'm a journalist. You have to do your research. So I did my research and watched the video. And in the video, you can see his face, clear as day. It's not grainy or anything. He's not blurred out. You can see that he's in uniform. He even pulls up with the cruiser that he's on duty driving. This man is on duty filming an OnlyFans skit. Now, it doesn't get any more graphic than that, or, it's not like I paid for the video. I saw the clip of the video. So I don't know what goes on after the video, but woman pulls down her top, breasts are exposed. He gropes him, all while on duty. And I'm just like, look, I know OnlyFans is lucrative. And, I've thought about doing OnlyFans, foot finder or something, I'm trying to do some things with my life and, a little extra cash never hurt nobody. I will never disrespect somebody's kink. And, I'm sexually liberated. Let's move on from that. I don't know where that statement is going to take a lot of people's minds, but let's just say, I have no problem talking about sex. You know, sex is sex. Sex is a natural thing. Every species on this planet has some form of sex, so it's a natural thing. But you can't do it like when you're on the job. Like, what is it thinking? And of course, you're gonna lose your job. Now, I have a million and one questions, and some of the questions revolve around, well, like, how did he find out? So supposedly, the story is that the reason why he was discovered is because people called in, people saw the video. I guess, subscribers saw the video and they called in and they said, "Hey, is this real? Does he really work for you guys? Because he was out here groping on women." So somebody narked on him. Somebody snitched on him. And he probably got a nice little payday, but wasn't worth losing his job over. But maybe it is. Maybe he's going to become an OnlyFans star. He was a fairly good looking man. I mean, he wasn't ugly. Maybe, he want to turn that into something. He's still fairly young. He's only 33 years old. Maybe being a cop, maybe being police wasn't in his future. Maybe, being a sexy demon was in his future. I say sexy demon. Look, those are just words that just came to my head just now. Ain't nothing wrong with what he did from the standpoint of doing it in general, but doing it while on duty and you get caught and you can't deny it. Like, I don't even know what excuse. And cops, to get fired from your job, you got to do something egregious. Even his lawyers, people that represent cops, it's kind of like, man, I don't really know what to tell you, man. You was on duty in your uniform, in your official uniform, using your police cruiser, groping on women. That just gives a bad look to the whole police department. We gotta let you go, man. You got to go. Like, you got to go. I don't know what you was thinking. It's like in the scene from Goodfellas, when it's like, you got to go home. There's like, you got to go home. You got to go because you can't stay here because you're stupid. He's under investigation too. So this would be like his actions. Anytime a police officer has misconduct, it could be criminal or civil. We don't know what the end result is going to be. There's a bunch of different things. There's federal laws, there's criminal laws, there's civil cases. There's a police misconduct provision. That's the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act of 1994. It includes the police misconduct provision. The PMP allows the DOJ to sue law enforcement agencies that display a pattern or practice of unlawful behavior. I mean, that opens the door for the police department to be sued by the DOJ because they're like, look, we got police officers out there in uniform groping on women. Like, was this real? Was it a mock? Was it something that they said? Was it something that was real that they turned it into a mock to cover his own self? I mean, this is something that opens up your department for a lot of stuff. And if they start to dig deep and they find misconduct with one person and the DOJ that does an investigation in your police department and maybe some of your detectives have been playing evidence, it can open you up. I'm not saying that's the case. I'm saying when you open your police department up to investigation, they might be looking for one thing and find some other stuff. That's how investigations go, right? You're looking for one thing, you're like, oh, hold on, man. I was looking for you for selling crack cocaine. I didn't know you was pimping hoes as well. Like, that's how they get you. That's how investigations get you. You think you just being investigated because you sell drugs to the community and they find out you selling women to the community as well. That's how investigations go. So the police department is like, nah, man, you got to go. And I can understand it's a really bad look. Police officers are supposed to be above reproach. That's the propaganda that Matthew Solomon was talking about. They're supposed to be above reproach, but they're human beings and they make mistakes. And Sean Herman made a mistake. I don't know him from Sam, right? Random person. Like, I don't know him. I don't know what he has in his heart. I don't know if he's good or bad. I don't really even care. This is all I'll say. Rarely do I defend the police. He should have been fired. But I'm not going to condemn this man for this ignorant act. You know, I guess he's a millennial, barely. No, he's a millennial. He's a millennial. So he should have known a little bit better. But the fame and the attraction to it will cause you to do things that are out of your character and cause people to make mistakes like Sean did. He lost his job. But like I said, maybe he's got a career in OnlyFans. I don't know. Who knows? All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all for listening and tuning in. Our subscribers list for YouTube and the number of downloads for our audios just are growing. I cannot be more thankful of the audience that we're growing. And it kind of sucks because we're about to go on a 2-week hiatus. I'll let you guys know when that is, but it's going to be around the 4th of July. We're going to go on, maybe it'll be a 1-week hiatus, but there'll be a little break that me and my sister are going to take from shows. I'm going to take not a vacation, but like a vacation from my regular job and doing this because it's a break that's very much needed. But I am going to try to do some YouTube exclusive segments on that break, the post. So definitely go subscribe to the YouTube page that has all of our shows on there. All the shows of the quote unquote second season. The first 11 episodes that we didn't do video, that was just audio, are not on there. You can only listen to them. But everything after that, everything at the start of 2023 is all video, and that's on there. You can check that out. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting. And until next time, as always, I'll holla. Whew. That was a hell of a show. Thank you for rocking with us here on Unsolicited Perspectives with Bruce Anthony. Now, before you go, don't forget to follow, subscribe, like, comment, and share our podcast wherever you're listening or watching into it. Pass it along to your friends. If you enjoy it, that means the people that you rock will enjoy it also. So share the wealth, share the knowledge, share the noise. And for all those people that say, well, I don't have a YouTube. If you have a Gmail account, you have a YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can actually watch our video podcast. But the real party is on our Patreon page, After Hours Uncensored and Talking Straight-ish. After Hours Uncensored is another show with my sister. And once again, the key word there is uncensored. Those are exclusively on our Patreon page. Jump onto our website at unsolicitedperspectives.com for all things us. That's where you can get all of our audio, video, our blogs, and even buy our merch. And if you're really feeling generous and want to help us out, you can donate on our donations page. Donations go strictly to improving our software and hardware so we can keep giving you guys good content that you can clearly listen to and that you can clearly see. So any donation would be appreciated. Most importantly, I want to say thank you for listening and watching and supporting us. And I'll catch you next time. Audi 5000. Peace.